Senator Lummis introduces a landmark Bitcoin bill. Here's what's in it. The Bipartisan Bitcoin Act by US Senators Cynthia Lummis, RY, from the Senate Banking Committee and Kirsten Gillibrand, DNY, from the Senate Agriculture Committee is finally in place, months after the effort was first announced. The act, which sets out the Responsible Financial Innovation Act, also known as Lummis-Gillibrand, seeks to encourage responsible innovation by integrating digital assets into existing laws and provides more clarity for an industry that is largely unregulated and lacks common standards and defined measures. The text boasts 69 pages of detailed definitions and terms. SEC and CFTC, the watchdogs. The bill tasks the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, with the bulk of the work as lawmakers work to bring about a broad crypto space. Large under the auspices of specific regulatory bodies once and for all. The SEC will regulate digital assets classified as securities, while the CFTC will be responsible for overseeing those that receive commodity stamps. The bill itself contains language that would serve as a guide reviewer for classifying digital assets into either class. Lummis-Gillibrand proposes to examine the rights or powers vested in the owner of a digital asset and the inherent purpose of that asset. Under the measure, ancillary property is an intangible, replaceable asset that is offered for sale or offered to another person in connection with the purchase and sale of a security through an agreement or plan that constitutes an investment contract. The law uses the Howey test to determine that an ancillary property offered to a purchaser under an investment contract is not inherently a security. The law uses the Howey test to determine that an ancillary property offered to a purchaser under an investment contract is not inherently a security. To be classified as a security, a digital asset must provide the holder with a debt or equity interest in a business entity, the right to liquidate, or the right to receive interest or dividends from an entity business, profit, or revenue sharing in a business entity that derives only from the business or management efforts of others, or any other financial interest in the organization. Digital assets are not fully decentralized and benefit from business and management efforts that determine the value of the asset but are not debt or equity, or create no rights to the asset with profits or other financial interests in a business entity that is not classified as a security as long as the disclosure is filed with the SEC twice a year. The presumption that an ancillary property is a commodity is subject to appeal in court. The law also grants the CFTC exclusive spot market jurisdiction over all fungible assets other than securities, including ancillary assets. Exchanges will need to register with the CFTC to conduct trading operations and will need to comply with rules in the areas of custody, customer protection, prevention of market manipulation and information sharing. The CFTC will be allowed to charge a small fee on digital asset exchanges to offset the increased costs for the agency. The delivery of a CFTC that oversees the spot market could help pave the way for a Bitcoin spot exchange traded fund, ETF, in the United States, as much of the SEC's argument against it has to do with a lack of regulation in the exchange market. Immediately, and the reluctance of the exchange to work with the regulatory authorities. Both the SEC and CFTC are also mandated by the bill to research and report on the creation of a self-regulatory organization, SRO, that could play an additional role in working with regulators in emerging markets. Develop. Finally, the Responsible Financial Innovation Act also tasked two supervisory agencies, in consultation with the Secretary of the Treasury, to develop a comprehensive set of guidelines for technical asset intermediaries. Some of their thoughts on cybersecurity, including topics on security operations, risk identification and mitigation, sanctions avoidance, money laundering, and terrorist financing. These agencies are expected to develop rules for such cybersecurity standards. Lummis-Gillibrand requested a study of the energy consumption of digital assets. Research will seek to identify the best ways to encourage innovation while ensuring these technologies work together with other sectors of society to help move the world closer to climate goals through deploying more renewable and clean energy sources and reducing energy waste. This task will fall to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which will work in consultation with the CFTC and SEC to conduct the study. One of its goals is to analyze the type and amount of energy used for mining. As Senator Lummis previously suggested, the law would provide a tax exemption for capital gains not exceeding $200 when paying in Bitcoin for goods and services. This measure encourages the use of digital assets as a medium of exchange. However, the bill notes that all transactions that are part of the same transaction or a series of related transactions would be treated as a single transaction, and thus result in a unique capital gain. Most, for tax-free purposes. The bill goes one step further to state that miners are not considered brokers and that digital assets obtained from mining operations will not be considered income until they are converted into fiat currency. In addition, Lummis-Gillibrand also pointed out that digital asset lending agreements are generally not taxable events, similar to securities lending transactions, and stipulate that some institutions voluntarily decentralized values, DAOs, are business entities for tax purposes. However, this requires that the DAO be incorporated or organized under the laws of such a jurisdiction. Finally, on the tax front, the bill requires the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, to research and clarify issues such as forks and airdrops, merchant acceptance of digital assets, and mining and staking, betting, charitable donations, and the legal character of stable coins or debt. 401(k). Lummis-Gillibrand asked the Government Accountability Office, GAO, to analyze the opportunities and risks associated with investing in digital assets with retirement accounts. The GAO's findings will be reported to Congress, the Department of Treasury, and the Department of Labor. Protect consumers. In an effort to increase customer protections in the cryptocurrency market, the bipartisan bill would require digital asset providers to disclose information about their products, including the trading source code and the legal handling of each digital asset. The bill also grants the right to a person to keep and control the digital assets they own. Other provisions. Lummis-Gillibrand also includes provisions on stable coins, such as requiring issuers to hold US dollars or dollar equivalents to enable redeeming by the customer at any given time, an advisory committee to watch and study the latest developments in the space and make recommendations so that regulations remain up to date and valid, and clear definitions for the different types and styles of digital assets and their related technologies, markets and practices. The road ahead. Senator Gillibrand said in an interview with CNBC on June 7 that she thinks the bill is something the Senate will get behind. Our goal is to make sure this gets through the 4 competent committees, she said. It takes a long time to build a regulatory framework for a new industry. Senator Gillibrand went on to say that she hopes the bipartisan legislation will pass through the Senate Banking, Agriculture, Intelligence and Financial Services committees before being put on the Senate floor. These committees will have sections of the bill because they only govern parts of the industry, she added. We think there's going to be a lot of momentum behind this bill. We've met with most of the industry stakeholders and experts in the field and we'll work with them over time to continue to improve the bill. Like and subscribe our channel.